quite a number of people say, yes, that's where we seem to have problems in terms of enforcement. But also, quite a number of people also believe that in the instances where enforcement has happened, it was saying that it's so weak, it doesn't deter anybody. If you listen to some of the respondents who spoke during the NLC rally, it was saying that they were not even agreed. The NLC president did say, well, it was saying that our laws are weak, they support corruption. And some people also believe there's nothing wrong with our laws. You know, we just need to maybe unify them or ensure that they are enforced. Where do you stand on this matter?
The laws are not weak, like I said. Because look, these laws are there. It says, it defines a penalty or a sentence for each offense that is committed. Right? What you're trying to say is that if I steal maybe a certain, or somebody steals a certain amount of money, you should spend more time in jail. But the thing is that we're not even doing the basics. We are not taking these people to court and prosecuting them diligently enough to secure a conviction. So even if you go ahead to increase the term limits that offenders are to spend in jail, and you don't prosecute them, it's of no useful exercise.
Well, but doesn't it increase the stakes? So they're asking for capital punishment. It's to press home, perhaps, just how, you know, how depressing or how serious the problem of corruption is. That if we're saying that we equate stealing public funds, funds meant for development, funds meant for the betterment of society, we equate stealing those funds with death. Doesn't it put an amount of seriousness on the crime itself?
You see, with that, look, what the prosecution needs to do is to be creative, think out of the box. A man who steals money from public office can indeed be charged maybe for manslaughter or whatever, being that being as a consequence of his actions. Mm-hmm. So if you steal funds meant to set up an hospital or meant to equip an hospital, and people go to that hospital and they lose their lives, you can say that the loss of that man's life is as a result of the corruption that occurred. So you can charge him quite clearly for that. But if to just say somebody who misappropriates certain funds in his office, and there is no loss of life as a result of that, I don't really see how you can say, so somebody who steals maybe 2 million or whatever should now be sentenced to death. It is too harsh. It is, I mean, it is brutal, and I don't think it is commensurate with the crime. Punishment must be commensurate with the crime, right? And the thing is, if somebody steals, because you just need to be creative, because if a governor misappropriates funds meant to develop a state, apart from just charging him for that misappropriation of funds, there are so many things you can charge him for. But we don't do it. And that's where I think the problem stems from. We do not do those things. So somebody, a contractor is, for example, maybe constructing a road, he leaves a boulder or digs a pit in the middle of the road. There is no warning sign, there is nothing. People fall into that pit, they lose their lives. Nothing happens to the contractor. Look at what happened at Ujuelegba the other day, when the container fell and killed innocent people going about their business. Have you heard any news that the driver of that truck or the owner of the truck has been charged? Or even the people who are supposed to make sure that those trucks are safely attached to the seat of the truck. Have they been charged? No. We just go on national TV in the press and say, oh, what a tragedy, what this, what that. But people are supposed to be there to make sure, because we have vehicle inspection offices. We have policemen who are supposed to do all these things. But nobody does their job, and people don't care.
Due diligence is one area we should also talk about when we talk about the fight against corruption. We have seen lawyers come up with so many, counts on a particular matter. Some will ask, is it as a result of the amount of diligent prosecution, investigation that has been done, leading up to maybe 200 count charge? And at the end of the day, out of the same 200 or 150 in Nigeria, the man or woman is let off the hook.
I think it's a matter of style. I don't see why style. I don't see why you should do up a 200 count charge against somebody if you really have evidence that can nail him positively on one and will put him away for a long time. Then it's better to put all your strength and focus on that charge which you know you can sustain, rather than dissipating your energy and spreading yourself thin. That is my own view of it. You know, because I think that if I'm asked to prosecute somebody, I'm going to look at the evidence and see in which areas do I have a strong case, an iron cast case against this chap, and I'm going to try to focus all my energies on that particular charge, rather than charging him for 200 count charge and really spread yourself so thin at the end of the day that, you know.
Yeah, but, sorry, yeah, I was just going to ask you, how would you say we really start this fight against corruption? I mean, there's been plenty of mouthing of the fight against corruption, and a lot of lawyers will say it starts in the law courts. Is that where you'll advocate as well?
I was at the last conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, where the president addressed the gathering, and he said corruption is the greatest abuse of human rights, and I agree with him. So for the president, where to start is to appoint the right person as the Attorney General. Somebody who brooks no nonsense and who will ensure that every charge that is filed is prosecuted to the very last end, diligently, to also make sure that the Inspector General of Police or heads of the enforcement agencies, the EFCC, ICPC, or what have you, they do their job thoroughly, they investigate properly, they get the evidence that will, when presented to a court, be irrefutable. And again, luckily, in 2015, we have the new Administration of Justice Act, which I believe also, if implemented, will also see that more people are convicted, because that act has stopped all these interlocutory appeals, you know, challenging jurisdiction, and it says the court must sit. Once a matter is filed, the court must sit from day to day on the matter. So if all these things are enforced to the letter, I think we'll begin to see a difference.
It's interesting to note, sorry, Nyota, just one more. It's interesting to note that the NLC is actually staging a march against corruption. How do you think that the federal government can harness that momentum that has been galvanized by the NLC?
I mean, the momentum has always been there, because every day people rail and, you know, they talk against corruption. The opinion, public opinion generally and perception is against corruption. So it is only for the government to tap into that to carry out most of the reforms that it needs to carry out. I mean, it's there. Even under all administrations, when you have a public fora for people to discuss, one of the things that everybody agrees on is the damage that corruption is doing. But unfortunately, government has not been able to translate this public opinion to results.
How can investigations, or how should investigations be done to ensure that these cases are prosecuted to the letter?
It's not rocket science. Again, if you look at developed societies, sometimes you're watching the news and they tell you that somebody that was killed in the 1960s, they're just charging the person who committed that crime to court because maybe new evidence came up, maybe DNA or whatever, because they don't give up on any crime that is committed. They don't give up. They are committed. I think we need to retrain and retool and rekit our law enforcement agencies, because that is look at the incident of the body of the Nigerian boy that was found in the River Thames. I mean, he had no name, no identity, nothing whatsoever. But they traced him. I believe the officers from Scotland Yard came to Benin because they traced him and they didn't give up. And you can bet it that even up till now, that case is not closed. But look at so many unsolved murders that we have. Bola Ige, Funshaw Williams, too many people, because we just give up on them. Like right now, nobody cares who killed Bola Ige. Nobody cares, absolutely. The investigation, the file is dead.
Can most of these be revisited?
Of course it can. Once you have somebody who has the willpower, who has the knowledge, the know-how, and he has the backing of the government, they can be revisited.
Getting closures for some of these matters, would it mean that the judiciary should also be on top of its game?
Definitely, absolutely. Because like I said, everybody must take the blame. Lawyers, prosecution, judiciary, the Ministry of Justice, legislation. So everybody needs to sit up. And why do we need to sit up? Because we are not producing results. The results are there. So if anybody says, oh, we're doing a wonderful job, then it should show us the results.
Can this fight be more than just a slogan for us as a people?
That is what the Buhari administration needs to do, to take this from just being a slogan, say we're fighting corruption, into a real war that will yield results that you and I can see.
Moishe Oronigbanjo, it's a pleasure having you on the program. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you. Sunrise Zilla takes a moment now and we'll return shortly. Join us again.